On today's episode of the McCann Dogs Podcast.
In my daily life, I think they're unconscious decisions about about training that makes managing them in my home easier.
And now, Instructor Shannon.
Welcome back to the McCann Dogs Podcast. It is season 4, and we are here in the studio today with a real treat. We have another guest on the podcast. I would like to welcome Instructor Erin to the podcast.
Hi, everyone.
So nice to have you here on the
Thank
studio.
you.
And we're going to talk today about some things that will make your lives easier when you have a busy life, because Erin has an incredibly busy life with young kids. Of course, we have the infamous Swan in the studio, Instructor Swanny.
Hi, everyone.
And for those of you who don't know me or are meeting me for the first time, my name is Instructor Shannon, and we like to talk about things that will help improve your life and your dog's lives here on the McCann Dogs Podcast. So when Erin and Swanny and I were sitting around and just having a casual chat about stuff, and somehow we got onto the topic of busy lives and training, and I said, Stop this. No, actually, I think Swanny said, stop this conversation. We need to have this on the podcast so that people can learn. And I thought, you know what? Let's do it. So here we are today to chat about busy lives and trying to fit it all in when you have a young dog, especially. So huge welcome to Instructor Erin. And if you have ever, you are very welcome. If you've ever reached out to online training at McCannDogs.com, you have probably conversed with Instructor Erin. She is one of our managers for online training, and she does a fabulous job helping new students get acclimated to the program and directing them where they need to be. So reach out to her if you have any questions about our online training program.
Yeah, I'd love to help you get some information about our online programs.
Amazing. Thanks, Erin. Alrighty, so I want to first talk about your experience with dogs, because this is not a new endeavor for you for any stretch of the imagination.
No.
So tell me about your life as it includes dogs.
Oh, that's a big one.
It is.
Yeah, I was actually just saying to someone else just recently, actually, I was like, I've actually known the McCann family for my entire life. I don't remember not knowing them.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty lucky that way that I have been involved in some aspect with this family and this business for a long time. My mom was an instructor for the McCanns when the training facility was at the Rockton Fairgrounds.
Amazing.
So I remember, not all the time, but through pictures, that I'd be sitting in the back of the room doing homework or coloring or whatever, doing that kind of stuff with my mom teaching classes. And then kind of throughout my life, then I started my first part-time job was working in the office, doing all kinds of things under the tutelage of wonderful people that still actually work for us.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
We really do. We keep people around for a long time. So it obviously speaks volumes about the organization itself and how much people want to continue their employ there. And I mean, yourself included.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I remember Erin would always be in our demonstrations.
Yes.
So we would travel
I
around
forgot.
and do all kinds of demonstrations at fairs and different events.
Yep.
And you would handle your mom's shelties. And you would do such an awesome job. And there'd be this little girl, because I've known Erin since she's been knee-high to a grasshopper. And there'd be this little girl just bombing around doing flyball and agility. And you would win a lot of the things too, which was so awesome to see kids doing so well, and just a testament to how wonderfully the dogs are trained.
Yeah, my mom did a great job training the dogs for us to run.
No, but the dogs listened to you too. So you, you
Yeah.
did a great job. I was always so proud to see you up on the podium.
Oh, thanks.
Amazing. So you were one of the group of what were dubbed McKids.
McKids.
The McKids that were around. So
Mm-hmm.
there was a few of you, and you know what? This is
And I think they're all still with us.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost all of them. A couple of, I think, moved away from the area.
Yeah.
Jenny and
Lauren,
and Lauren has moved away. But everyone was so involved for so long.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. So many good times. And the demonstrations were always a blast.
Yes.
I used to participate in the demos a little bit as well. And they were always a ton of fun. And I can imagine that this just sort of really shaped a lot of your downtime when you were a kid was working with the dogs and learning how to handle, because it's not like, I mean, you say that your mom did the training, which of course is absolutely accurate, but you must have done some prep work to be able to get out there and handle the dog, etc.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I remember kind of my mom's Sheltie, her name was Cheerio, kind of got passed over to me. And yeah, I remember taking classes with her, even though she'd already done classes. It was just a good experience for me to get in and train the dog.
Right, for sure. Like we always say, when parents want their kids to train a dog, it's better to have your kids start off on a trained dog.
Yeah.
Just like we don't put a child on an unschooled horse.
That is a fact.
You put a child on a horse that knows what they're doing, and that's the way the child learns.
Yes.
Same with dog training. It's great to have your children, you train the dog, and then your children learn how to train the trained dog before you give them a wild beast of their own.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's actually setups for what's called junior handling in all sorts of different sports, whether you go into agility. I'm not sure does flyball have a junior handling component, or is it just everybody is the...
One of the organizations called UFly, they do have a division that's kind of more geared towards kids and getting kids involved in that kind of idea that I know of.
Okay.
So it's not as prevalent as, say, agility and obedience and that kind of idea, but it's coming.
Yes.
So
I think with flyball being a team sport, the team often is the child's mentor.
Yeah.
So there's that
sense.
team component, whereas individual sports doesn't quite have the team. You know, there's still lots of mentors and all that, but being with that team every weekend really creates
absolutely.
that.
It makes sense, and there's an opening for the world of the child. And of course, it's not as intimidating as other sports would be because the child is on that team, versus going out all by themselves and, you know, all eyes are on them, et cetera, et cetera. So, that's so fun. So what is your recollection of when you joined the flyball team first? Were you like a toddler? Diaper still?
Like, no, not that young, but like with the McCann flyball team, I remember my mom's dog Lacey was one of the first height dogs as a Sheltie, and they really kind of set the bar in terms of like lowering the jump heights for that sport. But I don't know how old I would have been. Like,
I bet you were catching balls at the back.
I was definitely catching balls at the back initially and being told did not get in the way.
Right, stay out of the lane.
So maybe like
good call.
6 or 7, like quite young.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let's just talk about these terms. So you use the term height dog. Give me a quick nutshell version of what a height dog is.
Yeah, so in flyball, there's 4 dogs on a flyball team, and the smallest dog on that team sets the jump heights for the dog that are going to like do this relay race. And they're measured from in one of the divisions, in one of the organizations, from their shoulders down. And that sets the height. And then all 4 of those dogs jump that jump height. So the lower the jumps in theory, the faster the bigger dogs could run because they didn't have to jump as high. So that's height dogs kind of in a nutshell.
height dog in a nutshell. Perfect explanation. Absolutely. And then ball catchers. So if you picture tennis and when there's a youngster that runs across to grab the ball that gets hit in the net, and it's probably more intense for flyball, but give us a little picture of what this looks like.
I don't know. But you're just someone being like at the back of the lanes when the dogs come back to grab their tug toy. As a young kid, it was quite fun to just chase the balls that the dogs were letting go of and putting them in your bucket. So it was a big win.
And then the balls are soaking wet, too. Just so you know, with dog saliva and slobber.
It's
so
a tennis ball.
It's a dirty job, but it is
Somebody
fun.
has to do it.
Exactly. Someone does. And usually the balls are labeled as well because, of course, there's multiple teams racing. So there's balls flying everywhere. Yeah. And you want to make sure that you take your own tennis balls home so that, it becomes an investment when you're buying as many as you need for a flyball tournament. Yes. So, okay, tons and tons of fun for a young kid to get involved in flyball.
Yes.
And any other dog sports as well. I mean, it's so nice for kids to be raised with dogs and raised to be respectful with dogs and to understand exactly what they are capable of, and that they're not just, the animated teddy bear to do whatever you want with. there's brains in there and there's ability and there's trainability and all sorts of wonderful things.
Yeah.
Do you remember other sports that you participated in as a child, like dog sports?
Yeah, I did agility with my mom's Shelties as part of the demos, and I did a few trials that my mom would go to, and I'd get to run Cheerio and that kind of idea. And later on, Tika was another Sheltie that I got to play with a little bit, and those were the two big sports at the time, because now dog sports have really exploded in a big way. Like obedience used to just be going into the ring and doing obedience, but now there's rally and then there's dock and barn hunt and frisbee disc trials, and just
the
like,
list goes on.
Yeah, like there was not
coursing,
the expanse of sports in the late 80s that there is now.
Yes.
So,
Right.
yeah.
And I mean, basically that was out of necessity because our relationship with dogs started to change. You know, the hunting dog, for example, we don't necessarily hunt as much as we used to. So we didn't want to lose those abilities in the dogs. We wanted to make sure that they still have those instincts and that great drive. And, you know, of course, people who hunt are going to be able to use that in a natural environment, but some of us don't hunt. Like I do a lot of field sports with my tollers, but I'm not a hunter.
No.
I have pre-bought ducks that live in my freezer, and when I need to do some training, I thaw them out, and then they go back in the freezer for use continued because they're quite pricey. But
Interesting.
Yeah, I know, isn't it? There's such a weird world
Right,
with
yes,
that
about you.
But I love to be able to make sure that my tollers can retain those natural instincts and they can go to a test, and a test is a put on, you know, simulated hunting environment, and they can go to that test and they can pass the hunt test. And, you know, as breeding stock in some situations, I mean, whether or not you're keeping your dogs intact to use them, or a breeder, or working with a breeder, you want to be able to breed the best possible dogs, which when you're working with purebred dogs, it includes a certain instinct. So of course, Shelties with their herding instinct, there would be herding instinct tests and herding trials that you can go to, because of course not everybody has a bunch of sheep.
No.
I always wanted to get Atari a chicken.
A chicken.
Yeah, Atari, she was a Sheltie, and she liked to be a little bit bossy because that's what they have to do. And I thought, you know what? Atari would love to have her very own chicken. That
boss
every
around.
morning, that she could boss around. It's like, okay, chicken, time to wake up and go out in the yard. Okay, chicken, time to come back in now. And I always thought Atari would like her own chicken.
Oh, well. Did you ever run into the chickens here on the property?
We did, and we would go and look at them, but they were never on the property. They are always on the other side of the fence every time Atari was here. Yes, yes. But I do see them wandering. It's like, why weren't you here when Atari was here to boss you about?
Our neighbors on the property have chickens, and they're frequently busting through the fence to wander around on our property. And luckily, our dogs are well trained enough that they make it back to the other side of the property, which is great.
I think, though, that those adult chickens would have bossed Atari about.
Maybe.
Yes, I think.
Some of them are pretty big.
Right, yes. Yeah.
And not very chicken.
And they have sharp beaks. Yeah.
Okay, the McCann Chicken Podcast.
Yes.
Sorry. So,
come for the dog training, stay for the chickens.
oh my goodness. Is that a barbecue? What is that after the fact?
No, it's just viewing, a chicken viewing. There's a chicken viewing after every class.
Yeah, those chickens are nice chickens.
Yes,
we
they
wouldn't
are.
Need them. We wouldn't need them. All right. So we were talking about your childhood in dog sports with dogs. When did you get your very own first dog?
I was in grade 10, and I grew up with Shelties. We probably had at any given time 5 to 7 Shelties running around our house, and which was fine. Like they were all well trained, except for when the doorbell rang, and then they were a little bit of an issue. But
7 of them. That's a lot.
7 of them barking.
7 hands.
Right, yes.
And I saw the McCann family with their dogs Bingo and Yankee, and Kale later got Piper, and I was like, I want a border collie. I wanted a border collie so bad, and I begged my mom, and she went out and got Jetta, who was another Sheltie, and she's like, it's black and white, and I'm like, that will not do.
Yes.
So, it's close, right?
Yeah, she was a cool dog, but there's something about the way border collies worked as a young kid and how fast they were and how eager they were that I was like, I want a border collie. So I saved my own money working part-time here in the office, and I bought my my border collie Revan from one of McCann's, one of their breedings, Wiz. And oh man, she's just the perfect little small border collie.
Yes.
So
I remember Revan very well.
Too, yes.
Very well. Was she a litter mate to Jitterbug?
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if anybody remembers Gail McCann's Jitterbug, Revan was a litter mate to Jitterbug. And I remember they looked very similar.
Yeah.
And so you guys must have had a blast training up your puppies together.
Oh, so fun. I mean, Kayla and I went to different high schools. We're the same age, Kaylee and I. Oh my gosh, Kaylee, I sound like her dad.
Kaylee?
Yeah.
Kayla and I, and we went to different high schools, but we'd like come here and we'd train and that kind of idea. And it was a nice way for like two friends to stay in touch when we weren't in the same high school. So yeah, no, it was a lot of fun.
I bet. Oh my gosh, amazing. And that would have been such a nice thing in teenage years to keep you out of trouble too. I have no doubt.
It was. My mom, one of the stipulations of getting a border collie or my own dog was that I needed to arrange babysitting if I wanted to do anything, because I'm getting a dog as a high school student. So my mom's like, you're not getting a dog for me to raise this dog. She's like, you'll go to school. I'll look after your puppy when you go to school. But then after that, if you want to go out for the night with your friends or you want to do whatever, she's like, you're arranging those details. Like,
Nice.
and sometimes
that's
I
good.
had to pay for it. And I was like, this isn't just like a walk in the park. Like,
No,
yeah.
you know what?
a lot of responsibility.
Absolutely. And it's good lessons in early responsibility. I commend your mom for that. That's great.
No, because it would have been easy for her to, like, she's already got dogs of her own. But she was like, no,
yeah,
there's
what's one more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it was a great learning opportunity. So
Perfect. And what sort of thing did you end up doing with Revan?
Revan mostly just did, her sport was fly ball.
Okay.
I was very much getting into a point where like my social network was expanding and off to college and then university afterwards, and fly ball it's lovely. You can kind of train the dog and then it's just maintenance. It's not just continuously to like improve their skills, like agility, where you're endlessly like working on new skills and that kind of idea. So fly ball, once they're trained, they're pretty well ready to go. And it's just a matter of going to practice and making sure that they're still in shape and playing the game safely. And you can kind of slip in and out of it a little bit that way. So she did fly ball.
Fun.
And that kind of gave me a good sport outlet with her for a long time. So yeah, that was
very
fun.
cool. Very cool. Yeah. And having like this constant group through your teenage years, I think must have been a really, really good way of keeping you channeled towards things that you wanted, et cetera.
Absolutely.
So,
I was busy. I was a competitive swimmer as well. So between competitive swimming and the dog stuff that we would do on weekends from time to time or in the evening, it was busy. Yeah.
So this busy life stuff is nothing new for you.
Not really, no. Like when looking back, I'm like, oh, you didn't ever really slow down for a moment.
That stop and smell the roses thing. It's not really in your nature.
No.
So that was what I wanted to spend some time on today, because life now is still very busy for you. Tell me about your life now.
Yeah, my husband and I, we live in Paris, Ontario. And
Erin has flown in today for the McCann Dogs podcast.
No, it's a mere 35 minutes away. And we have two kids, ages 6 and 4, 2 girls. And it's busy. Like, plus
how many dogs?
We have 3 dogs. I guess I should talk about them too. Yeah, we have 3 dogs. I have a 10-year-old border collie named Summit, an 8-year-old terrier cross named Hashtag, and Haven will be 7. She's a Whippet cross at the end of the month.
Oh,
so,
exciting.
Yeah.
So I think Haven you got as an adult, correct?
I did get her as an adult.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Actually, one of the people on my flyball team just kind of decided that she just needed a break. She had a few dogs, but she was like, I've taken on more than I can chew right now. And she needed to rehome her dogs.
Okay.
And I was lucky enough to be in a position to, I thought at the time, just foster this dog for a little while so that she had a place to go while this person on my team kind of figured out what was going on with her life. And I ended up keeping her.
Sometimes that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
They call it a foster fail.
Yeah.
It's so popular that it has its own name, foster fail. So your other 2 dogs then you got as puppies?
I did, yes. Summit and Hashtag came as puppies. Summit's from out west. I flew out to Alberta to get him, and Hashtag was bred locally here as a sport mix.
Okay.
To do all of the things, but he tends to break his body, so
Aw.
he's hard
Just
on
rough
himself.
on himself.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
he's like full force into the wall, and he's like, well, that didn't hurt my head, but it broke my toe. So.
But I'm still good. I'm still good. Give me the ball.
exactly.
Give me the ball. I'll keep
Exactly.
going.
Oh my goodness.
So now he's kind of like my house cat, but he's the best hiker ever.
Aw,
So yeah,
good.
yeah,
Good.
But
So when Haven came home, was Haven fairly well trained, or was there a lot of work that you needed to put in?
She was well trained in some ways. She was trained to be a flyball dog. So she was basically taught to run fast to your name and get a tennis ball as fast as you could. So she was well trained in that regard. In regards to coming into a home and living with kids and walking on sidewalks when you're pushing a stroller and just doing regular life stuff, going to the cottage, that kind of, not trained at all.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, that's good, because I think that we're going to tap into your experience with that
boy.
and how you got her to the point where, she's a lovely dog to live with and gets on well with your other dogs and your kids and all of that, et cetera.
Yeah.
So initially when she first came home, what was your sort of plan of attack for this dog coming into your house? And keeping in mind that at that time you weren't even planning to keep her necessarily.
I wasn't. And my oldest daughter at the time, Bronte, was less than a year.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness. Yes.
Or just around a year old. I can't remember the timelines exactly, but I had no intention on bringing home another dog at that point, but I could help out. So I was like, I can help out. And to her credit, maybe it's the whippet, I don't know, but like she's a sloth in the house.
Okay.
So I think that was one of the reasons why it was so easy to keep her, was because I'm like, oh, she just wants to sleep on the couch all day long. Like she's the easiest thing going.
Right.
And in that way, she kind of lulled me into like a false sense of security
Yeah.
Because I was like, this is a breeze. And then a squirrel would run by, and I was like, well, she's a monster.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long was it before you decided, okay, this dog is not going anywhere?
No, gosh, not long. But, don't tell my husband that.
He's got a different
I
idea.
felt like I knew like right away that she
Okay.
wasn't going anywhere. But we just did have a 1-year-old, and I was like, we don't need a dog. But then she just fit in so nicely. Like I have a picture of her and my Bronte at the time being like just hanging out, and Bronte's petting her, and like she was so good with kids.
Good.
So it wasn't long before that. But it was an easy introduction. It was too easy.
Okay.
You don't always get that lucky in terms
Yes.
of introducing a new dog, an older dog,
Yeah.
into the house. It's not always a breeze.
Yeah.
But-
And some thoughts on that. I mean, if you are looking to skip the puppy stage, if you have a really, really busy life and you're looking to skip the puppy stages and all of the house training and chewing and, all of that stuff, consider contacting a breeder or somebody who has, sports in their repertoire of things that they do, dog sports, because they might have dogs that they're looking to move on to a new home. I mean, some really competitive flyball teams, for example, if they are training a dog that they know is not necessarily going to hold up to the speed records or the world records for speed, that might be a dog that they decide to find another home for, maybe a less competitive flyball home or even a pet home. So
Yeah, because some dogs go into sports and they're like, that it just isn't their sport.
Exactly.
And it happens from time to time that they're just, for whatever reason, doesn't matter the best trainers in the world. Sometimes a dog is going to thrive in one sport, say dock, for example, and then
Yes.
they might really struggle in another sport or whatever. So sometimes that opportunity does present itself with rehoming dogs that have already got some
or
skill.
even show breeders will have a dog maybe that they're keeping, and then suddenly it goes oversized or develops an overbite, and it's like, oh, it's a great dog, but we can't show it in the show ring, and we don't want to breed the dog because it'll put those genetics into our bloodline. Let's find a great home for it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there's rescue situations and then there's rehoming situations where sometimes if you need more predictability, you've got this history on the dog. You've got, where the dogs come from, there's no bite history, all of these details. So it might be a better fit, especially if you have a young
And you have
family.
the support from the former owner too.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I placed a border collie when I was in my 20s, And I stayed in touch with the people that I placed the dog with for many, many years. And if they had any questions, I was there to answer them. And I would have taken that dog back at any moment if for some reason I felt things weren't going well. But it was a perfect situation for them. They didn't want to go through the puppy stage. They wanted a trained dog, and I had one, and it worked out well.
Yeah, that was me for sure. Like, I was definitely not in a position, even within the next 2 to 3 years from the time I got her, that I wanted a puppy. I was like, this is not something that I'm interested in doing right now. Like, I'm already up all night with kids. I don't need to be up all night with a puppy.
Yes.
And just puppy training with a kid is not easy. Like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So kudos to anyone who's done it. My friend Meg, like instructor Meg, as some of the online students would know her, like, oh my gosh, like, to her credit, I mean, she to me is an all-star, because like
she is a rock star.
Yeah.
Absolutely. She would be lovely to have on the podcast as
know,
well, but I don't know if she could find the time.
I know. She's even busier than I am. I was like, felt a little like imposter syndrome. She should be here.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think that it is quite a proposition to go into having a toddler or a baby and a young puppy. But like you said, more power to you. And if you have this like drive and energy about you that you like to be on the go and have problems to solve, then it might be right up your alley. But if you are feeling overwhelmed with raising a child, bringing a puppy into the home can probably, derail
it
even
can
that
make
overwhelm.
things challenging.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And choosing an appropriate breed too. I know with Erin has lots of experience with sport dogs and knows the exercise requirements and the mental exercise requirements. Whereas getting a real high drivey breed when you have toddlers is maybe not the best. You don't have time to give the dog what it needs. So choose a breed that's more couch potato-y.
Yeah, and in a lot of situations, like the point, like exercising them and that kind of idea is not even what you need to be doing. It's the mental stimulation with these high drive breeds that is actually a bigger requirement in a lot of ways than the physical exercise, because the mental exercise is kind of what prevents them from going a little squirrely.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And I always like to remind people that if you're only relying on physical exercise to tire out your dog, you're actually making your life harder in the long run, because you're conditioning an athlete. So when we want to get fit, we go to the gym, we do 10 minutes here today, we do 12 minutes here tomorrow, we do 14 minutes here the next day, and we are conditioning our body to be able to take in and crave more exercise. So you do need to rely on the mental stimulation, which we get through, training, through tricks, through all sorts of things that we would use to help enrich our dogs' lives in a way that includes us as well. So I actually have enrichment on my list here to talk about with you, but I want to get to that a little bit later on down the path. So to start with, what are some of the management tactics that you use, having 2 youngsters in the house and 3 dogs?
And a husband.
And a husband. Oh my goodness. Yes.
I know. They're the hardest to manage.
This is why Swanny is infamous.
No,
she's so good.
To my husband's credit, minus the socks that I find occasionally like around the house in random places.
Does he blame the dogs for that?
No, but he could, because Summit sometimes likes to grab a sock from here or there, but
only the chewed socks are the husband's.
No, the ones that are won't. I have crates. Even as dogs who do not need to go into crates anymore, I can leave my house. I can leave my dogs out. I have crates for my dogs, and that's because there's sometimes dance parties that happen.
Are they random dance parties?
Not they're
down
they're
now.
like my kids' random dance parties. They request, they're like, hey Alexa, and like off she goes and off the kids go, and then Border Collie Summit is like, I need to herd these children onto the couch. So my dogs do spend time in their crate. Quite often. Not Haven, she's perfect. She can lay on the couch and she doesn't care what the kids are doing, but the other 2, they want to get in on the dance party. And so I do have crates for management. It's for my own sanity, to be honest with you. Like, I don't want to be reminding the dogs to stay on their bed or leave the kids alone or having them kind of chase them around. So my dogs do spend time in their crate when we're home. And it's good for everybody. If we have people over for dinner, like they are in their crates because it's just one less thing for me to worry about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing with these children and dogs that you're living with, that you're living with and raising, is things happen quickly. You know, the drop of a hat, I'm sure things change from one scenario to the next. Is there anything that sort of springs to mind as a story that
it happened last night? And this drives me.
That didn't take long.
Well, we live in a lovely neighborhood. We live on a little court, and we just moved there 2 years ago, and we got so lucky that like a bunch of the families on the street have young kids our age, or my kids' age. Sorry, well, we're all about the same age, and it's so nice because it's kind of how I grew up, where like kids would come over and knock on your door, ring your bell, and like want to come outside.
Can Terry come out to play?
Yeah, exactly. And that
was my childhood friend. That's why that name came in.
I wondered where that came from.
I was like, that's not my kid's name. So last night the doorbell rings, and I did not have the dogs in the crate. And they're so bad. This is something that I so desperately need to work on, but it takes a lot of time. Yes. And the doorbell rings, and all three of them tear off to the front door and just drive me absolutely insane. So I do try. I said to my husband last night, I'm like, at dinner time around like between 6 and 7, when I know that doorbell's going to ring from one of these kids in the neighborhood, I need to have these dogs in the crate. And just for my own because I hate that, and I can't prevent it because I'm not in a position to prevent it right now. I'm just not wanting to fix it at this point.
Yeah, just other things on the go that take priority, understandably. And this is a great tactic, though. This is what makes dog trainers have dogs that are well behaved, is we recognize that sometimes it's not going to be possible for us to do the thing we need to do to address the behavior. So we manage it in the meantime. Yeah. So at some point, I'm sure that you will address this behavior, but right now you're busy with a 4 and a 6-year-old. Yeah. So it's just easier to prevent the rehearsal of that thing by putting the dogs in the crate and not allowing it to continue to make itself into a habit. And then at some point when you're like, okay, the kids are raised, they're out of the house, now I can fix this, it's more realistic.
Because it's actually the perfect opportunity to fix it. I probably can predict on a sunny day in the middle of summer, my doorbell is going to ring. So like it is something that I could work to fix, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Absolutely.
That's okay. Yeah. If we're not superheroes, and we don't have to have perfect dogs, but we do have to have well-managed dogs.
Yes.
So recognizing that and just managing the behavior is fine, and that's okay. Yeah. Never feel any guilt about your dog's misbehavior.
I know they're naughty beasts when the doorbell rings.
So now, if you did decide that, okay, I'm done with this. Tomorrow, I'm going to start fixing this. What would be your approach?
Well,
would you have all 3 dogs
absolutely
loose?
Absolutely not. I'd start with one, the easy one, to work on this on, and
feel
then
empowered.
And then deal with #the terrier afterwards.
You know what I think would be the best thing to do? Either disable the doorbell or move to the country.
Yeah, no.
Moving to the country.
Gonna eat a lot of peaches. That's an awesome song.
It is a good song. The first time I heard that song actually was on Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I thought it was a whole joke. I was like, it's a joke. Yeah. And then I heard the song for real, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually a song, and now it's quite catchy.
Yeah, it's by the presidents of the United States of America.
Right. I couldn't remember the name.
It's called Peaches. Drop it in the comments if you love that song too.
And if you have a little dance party along with it, a little sing, you get bonus points.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
You guys are crazy.
So sorry. We are a little bit.
It's a big sidetrack there.
Continue on. So you would start with one dog at a time.
Yeah, one dog at a time with a leash on. To start with, and food in my pocket, and be prepared, because that's gonna happen. My idea behind this is to teach them essentially like a bed stay, or go to your bed when you hear the doorbell ring. I also don't want them hearing the doorbell ring and like running to their bed and scratching my floor that way. So that's the plan is to work on getting them to go to their bed when the doorbell rings, as opposed to running to the front door like hooligans. So yeah, but leash on one at a time, some food, because they're actually, when I'm doing my job, they're very nice little dogs, but when they catch me unprepared, it's the gong show. So
Right. Yes.
yeah,
It can definitely be a challenge. Well, and when there's 3 of them, you're not only dealing with each individual dog, you're dealing with this collective dog, basically, where they're feeding off of each other. And now you're in a situation where, okay, I can address one and I get engagement from that one, and that one acknowledges me saying, hey, be quiet. But this one over here is still barking. So now I turn my attention to this one over here, and this one goes back to spooking or barking or alerting, whatever the case may be.
And you still have your girls too, and they're probably like, oh, someone's here, let's go running.
Yeah, because that is the disaster. We have like 2 steps down to our front door, and if the kids are like, our friends are coming, and the dogs are like, the doorbell's ringing, and then like it's like a bowling alley, like going down to the front door. So can you picture it? Wouldn't it be?
I can absolutely picture the bowling alley.
Yes.
So it's no good.
Oh my goodness, that is a funny image right there. The bowling alley. I wonder what's playing the ball in that scenario.
Quinn, the 4-year-old.
Oh my goodness.
The bowling. She's the.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so talk to me about some of the things that you do in your daily life besides crating for management. Are there other things that you have in place?
Oh, my dogs have their dog beds around, absolutely, that they're allowed to chew on and that kind of idea.
Like they're allowed to chew things.
Yes.
On top of the bed,
they chew on their dog beds. My kids are not allowed to go to the dogs when the dogs are on their dog beds. That's kind of like either the crate or their beds are the dog's safe place.
Perfect. And why? Tell us why that's important.
Dogs just need a little bit of space, and just like us, like sometimes at the end of the day or during the day or whatever, like we need some space.
Absolutely.
And if there's a spot in the house, like, because the dogs are good, but like they don't want to be bothered all the time, especially by little hands and who are very gentle. Like my kids were taught to be very gentle with the dogs, but they can get grabby and pulley and whatever. So they don't bug them on their dog beds or in their crate. So
I love that. That is such a good hard and fast rule to have in place. And I think that Swanny did the same thing with Ty with when Ty was young. Not anymore, of course. But
actually, same thing now. I think Ty would. He's 20, but I think he would still
self-governs.
Yeah, but he would respect a dog on a dog bed. He'd say, "Oh, he's sleeping. I'll just leave him. He's on his bed. That's his little spot."
Yeah, absolutely. And we do all of these exercises. So picture this scenario. You know, your dogs are on the dog bed. They're chewing something that is valuable to them. And we work through all these scenarios as adults and as trainers. We work through all these situations to help our dogs understand that we're not a threat when we approach and they are chewing on something that they find valuable. We're not something to be concerned about. We counter condition that to the point where most of the time when I approach my dogs and they're chewing something valuable, they stop and look at me and go, oh, what am I getting instead?
Yeah.
What's the good thing that's coming? But those are the rules that pertain to me and my dogs. When we're talking about kids, there's often a little bit of a gray area with kids, because even if you are doing the absolute best job you can parenting, kids often still resemble litter mates to dogs.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to things like possession, it is perfectly lawful in the dog's mind, and always remembering that we are living with animals. These are not little kids with fur. These are animals, and they live by different rules. And that's not to say there's anything wrong with those rules. We need to make them safe in our human world, though. So never underestimate that these are animals that we're living with, and the rules can be very different when the animal is considering the other entity to be a litter mate.
Yeah.
So we don't ever want to get into a situation where we get growling or worse from a dog who's chewing something valuable on their bed when a kid approaches and decides that they're going to want to chew it too, you know, doing what kids do.
Yeah.
You're eating out of that bowl on the floor. I want to stick my head in there and eat out of that too.
No
and of
way.
course, you know, the cameras go on and people start filming, look how good my dog is, but there's usually a limitation to all of that, and it's just not worth the risk.
Right. Children don't recognize body language either. A dog can stiffen and, show the corner of their eye, and the child has no idea what that means.
Yeah.
A lot of the times the adults don't even necessarily
Exactly.
know
A lot
what
of
that
adults.
is.
I was in a situation last night where my kids wanted to greet 2 shepherds on the street, and they're lovely dogs. They're our neighbors' dogs. Individually, they're very nice, but like there was 4 little kids greeting these 2 shepherds, and the owner was like, no, they're okay. I'm like, I'm just seeing something a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I think your older dog is not exactly comfortable in this situation. And I just told the kids to just leave the older dog alone. I was like, just give him some space. You guys can visit the younger dog. But I was even seeing something that the owner wasn't necessarily seeing.
Yes.
And I just was like, guys, just give the dog some space.
Yeah. And that's so incredibly helpful, I'm sure, for anybody listening, because it's so important to learn your own dog's body language and read them in the moment and understand completely that just because nothing has ever happened before does not mean that it might not happen in this situation with this, particular setup and particular overwhelm for that dog. Or maybe that older dog has started to get some arthritis and they're starting to be a little bit sore in their old age, et cetera. So the fact that everything has been safe up to that point, you know what I just thought of, Swanny? I think you should tell that crayon story.
Oh, yes.
Of how things can change.
Yes. When I worked at the veterinary emergency hospital, we had a golden retriever come in to be euthanized, and it had suddenly bit the kids. The owner said out of the blue. And we ended up examining the dog and found there was a crayon had been stuffed into the dog's ear canal.
Oh my gosh.
And the dog was in excruciating ear pain. And one of the children had, gone to hug or pat the dog, and the dog had just reacted in horrific pain. And so you don't know what can happen. You have no idea what can happen with our dogs. So be very supervised.
Yeah.
Their children were young and innocent and just didn't know you couldn't put a crayon in the dog's ear. But yes, that poor dog, it ended up, we got the crayon out of the ear, and the owners were mortified to find out, and they didn't euthanize. They realized this was not our dog's fault, and it was out of character. But wow, that was... What a horrific situation.
That is a terrible story. So that leads me to this question. With 2 young kids in the house, is there ever a situation where you would leave your kids unattended with any of your dogs?
No, even,
Perfect.
I mean, I feel like I'm just like, well, even last night, but like these things happen every day in my life, because yesterday the kids come home from school and they go down to the basement, and they're allowed to take like a little dish of Cheerios or fruit or whatever downstairs to play and watch TV or whatever. And my dogs inevitably want to go with the walking food,
of course,
down to the basement. But no, I don't even let my dogs do that. The dogs have to stay upstairs with me when the kids have food, or go away. Most of the time I can get them to just stay upstairs with me. But yeah, my kids are never alone with the dog. I mean, because my kids are 6 and 4, so like they're very rarely alone ever. Yeah. But like, no, the dogs can't even go downstairs with them when they have some food, because I don't want them learning to like beg from them or steal their foods out of their hands or off the couch or whatever. So,
or even, I know your kids would know not to do this, but little kids, the dogs start to try to grab at their food. The kids start to screech, and the kids jump up on the couch, and the dog gets excited by that screeching and starts escalating. So, yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah, no, I guess to me, it's just how life is, but those are like conscious decisions or unconscious decisions that I make every day in our home life to keep the harmony.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that is such an important piece of things. It's so important to predict the things that might go wrong and to err on the side of caution. Kids are unpredictable, and dogs can be unpredictable. Yeah. So the more training, of course, we put into them, the more that we can understand what they're going to do and trust and predict their behavior, but we're living with animals, and as well trained as they can be, there's still instinct, and there's still basics that are going to kick in. If they're frightened, if they're in pain, there's a possibility of them snapping, biting, etc. So we need to monitor and use caution.
Yeah, and my dogs very much know that the rules with me, like if I were to put something down on this table and I'm sitting here, my dogs would not even look twice at it. But if my kids put something down at that table, like my dogs are like, you can't stop me.
Yeah.
Like
Game on.
The rules are different. As much as I try not to have them be different, the rules are different when the kids are like with the dogs are around the kids as opposed to when they're around me. I'd like to remedy that, but that's a lot of work too.
But it is, and that's leadership in a nutshell. Basically, is dogs will tread lightly and look for permission with things. Not that they're treading lightly because they're frightened, but they're treading lightly because they're used to following rules. You know, if you are a good leader and you provide your dog with good information, and that means good management, so they're not rehearsing the bad things, and it means good training, so that you have a means of communicating with them, then those dogs get used to the habit of listening, and that becomes an easy leadership quality for you in and of itself. Tell me. Sorry,
do you ever find your kids kind of bicker with the dogs over things?
No.
I felt, well, maybe bicker's not the right word, but I remember.
I'm intrigued to Swanny stories coming.
Ty used to eat snacks watching TV in his high chair when he was very young. Not when he was old. When he was very young.
Yesterday. This was when he visited last week.
And Cowboy was very tall. And so she would rest her head on his high chair ledge.
Naughty Cowboy.
Yeah, she would just rest it there and she wouldn't take anything. I was always watching. But then Ty would be like, Cowboy got her breath. It was always her breath. Cowboy got her breath on my high chair. And so I'd have to wipe off his high chair. And then later on, Cowboy's face would touch something else. Cowboy's breath is on my toy. And it was always like, oh, Cowboy, just keep your face off Ty's things.
That's an only child problem.
That's an only child. Okay, yeah, he's the only child, yes. But yeah, it was always like.
Cowboy was the sibling.
Right, yes, yeah. But Cowboy would get her breath on things.
Oh my goodness.
There's Cowboy breath on my hands.
Cowboy breath.
I don't know where he got the word breath, but it was always Cowboy breath. So that's one of my memories of like kind of like a little sibling thing going on there. But no, that doesn't happen.
No, my kids are too busy bickering with one another. To worry about what
they don't worry about dog breath on things.
That outlet is fulfilled.
Yes.
It's the dog hair. Quinny will be like, and she'll like pull like a dog hair out of like her mouth from like Summit. And I'm like, sorry about that. But that's growing up, kid. Like,
yeah. They're extra vitamins. Yeah.
Is there meals without dog hair?
No.
I don't really understand. I just sold my house and I said, you know what? Like it's coming with Toller hair. Sorry about that. But
did you charge extra for the Toller hair?
It includes.
Yes.
I should have.
Includes washer, dryer, and dog hair.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's true, actually.
That's why it sold quickly was because of the Toller hair in the listing.
Very special.
All right. So back to things that are more relevant than that, than the Toller hair left behind in my house. How would you say, so as you are working on training with your dogs, how would you say you fit that into your day-to-day life? Do you do quick little sessions or...
I'd like to say that I do quick little sessions every day, but I don't.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I do in a lot of ways without knowing I'm doing it, but I think that's because it's ingrained into me from my mom growing up this way. With Haven in my backyard, we have chipmunks, we have blue jays, we have squirrels, we have raccoons, we have the neighborhood cat, we have the dog that lives next door, and she wants to chase them all.
Okay, so lots of built-in distractions.
Lots of built-in distractions. And my other two, because I had them from puppies, my other two could really care less. I mean, sometimes a chipmunk or a squirrel would entice hashtag, but like Haven is mad about these things.
Gotcha.
Like she will wants to
drive.
Scale the fence to get to them. And especially the neighbor's dog. He's a beautiful Weimaraner. But both of them just like go to the fence if given the opportunity and are like, at the fence. And it's not a aggression thing. It's stimulated. Like she just wants to run and chase this dog. So every morning when I get up, I go outside with my dogs. I live in a subdivision home, like a typical subdivision home, not a large backyard.
Okay.
But I go outside with my dogs, mostly to make sure that they go to the bathroom in a place that I want them to go to the bathroom in, because my kids are playing in my backyard.
Yeah, good point.
And then I have to go out with her on a long line because I don't want her to continuously rehearse going after Jake and barking at him at the fence. She wrecks my hydrangeas, which makes me really mad. And it's naughty.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Right.
And I'm not used to it from my other dogs. My other dogs grew up being exposed to neighbors' dogs barking in backyards and that kind of idea. And she came to me with this innate want to chase things and that kind of idea that
Gotcha.
I'm not used to. So every morning I get up and I go outside with her on a leash to make sure she doesn't bark at Jake or chase the squirrels and break my hydrangeas. So yeah, she's a lot of work in the morning.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like it, but well worthwhile. And it also makes sure that because you're preventing that, you're also ensuring that that habit doesn't now become something that the other dogs go, oh, that's fun. Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to chase Haven chasing.
Yeah.
What was the dog's name? Duke?
His name's Jake.
Jake.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was close.
You were
There's a K in there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that's, I would say that's good planning, good management, and good training. So what about some of the other things? You mentioned like walking beside a stroller, for example. Did you get that, those behaviors trained?
Yeah, they're all my dogs are still on gentle leaders.
Okay.
Walking is an ongoing work in progress with my dogs because they seem to, and it's probably because of the way my lifestyle is right now. Like I'm tending to take them for walks to go play with them or whatever.
Right.
Or we're doing something fun or that kind of idea. So they're always looking to like get to their end spot, which they think requires me pulling me there. So I don't walk all three dogs at the same time.
Okay.
The most I'll walk is 2 at the same time because in combination with a kid or just even 2 dogs alone is enough for me.
Right.
So I just do that, and they are on gentle leaders, and getting them to be comfortable walking beside strollers and that kind of idea was actually very easy.
Okay.
I think because, well, maybe not so much Haven, but again, my other 2, because they'd been exposed to so many different things with me, and that trust has been built that way. They're like, okay, well, this is what we do now. And they've been completely okay with that transition.
Nice.
Into things, which has been so nice. Like they were older when we had, like Summit was, Summit would have been 5, I guess, when we had our first. So,
okay.
So that's helpful too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You had
he
all
was
that time
already
to-
skills
Yeah.
on him.
Yeah.
So yeah. And, in my daily life, I think they're unconscious decisions about about training that makes managing them in my home easier. Like you're not allowed to go in the kitchen, that kind of idea. Like you can go on your bed or you can go over there, but you don't come in the kitchen. And,
Okay.
And then I think this whole topic started because like I was sitting with you both in the office working. And I was like, oh my gosh, guys, I haven't practiced at all. This is after my first life skills 3 class with Carol. And Swanny was like, I need to interrupt this conversation so we can talk about this on the podcast. And we were talking about how like I have a hard time finding time to train at home because my kids are in sports, gymnastics, soccer, swimming, Girl Guides. And then I have my own things. At the time, I was on a flyball team practicing 2 nights a week and going to flyball tournaments at least once or twice a month and that kind of idea. And I was like, guys, I haven't had time to practice and Carol's going to like put me through the ringer here. So a lot of times I train when I intentionally train.
Yes.
With Haven at this point, Summit and Hashtag are older at 8 and 10. Like they're kind of got a lot of ingrained good habits. But yeah, with Haven, there's some stuff that I wanted to work on and expose her to and that kind of idea. So at 6 years of age, she's back in Life Skills 2 and Life Skills 3. And we're doing some classes here to kind of get her more exposure and that kind of idea. But I don't do my homework all the time.
Yeah. But I think that the difference is that you have high expectations of her.
Yes.
And you know that she is capable of those expectations.
Yes.
So you make her toe the line in day-to-day life. Do you pay attention to things like how she moves out of doors, how she moves out of her crate, things like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like when they're in and out of the car, like you can't push out of the crate that way I release them to go in and out of the house, especially with the kids because they're getting a little bit bigger now, but that when they were like 2, they could be pushed over pretty easily.
Yes.
So there's a lot of things that
So you're training and not even realizing it because you're addressing behavior as you see it. It's like, well, they can't get away with that. Okay, let's fix this right now. And
And
sorry, go ahead.
No, and it's not a perfect process for me. Like right now, like for Haven, for example, I cannot walk her off leash.
Okay.
She will chase a squirrel or she'll chase a deer or she'll chase another dog. So when I'm out for a walk with my friends, like I can't let her off leash loose, like my friends would, because she will not follow the rules.
Yeah.
So I don't allow it to happen because she'll be bad.
And that's brilliant because what you do in your day-to-day life is truly what sets the tone. You can sit down and, well, not sit down, but get active and train for 2 hours a day, every day. And if the rest of the time you just let them do whatever and you set them up to make mistakes, you're really not going to be any further ahead.
No.
So
I think that most important training is that subtle training that we do every day in our management in the house.
Yeah.
Because that sets the tone.
It truly
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It truly is. Well, this has been an amazing conversation, and I want to leave our listeners with a free workshop, because we have a free workshop called Training When You Don't Have Time to Train, available on our website, McCannDogs.com. And it has all sorts of tips and tricks and things that people like Erin, who know how to train dogs but lack the time to be able to really intensely get into it, but still have really well-behaved dogs that are nice to live with and nice to live with her kids. So have a look at that workshop. It's free for all, and all you have to do is go and find it on our website under the workshops, and it will fill you full of all sorts of great ideas for how you can train when you don't have time to train.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let us know in the comments too. Maybe you don't have children, but how do you fit in your dog time to train? Because we all, there's all types of facets of different busy lives. We might be caring for elderly parents.
Yeah.
We've lots of things going on. So let us give us some examples of other situations where you're finding you're just too busy.
Yeah. How do you make it work?
Right. Yes. We'd love to see them, and we read the comments and we can make our podcast grow from them.
Yeah, absolutely. Good idea, Swanny. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening today, everybody. On that note, I'm Instructor Shannon.
Oh, I'm Instructor Erin.
Instructor Swanny.
Happy training.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The McCann Dogs Podcast is brought to you by McCann Professional Dog Trainers. We help dog owners to have a well-behaved, four-legged family member. Please give us a call at 905-659-1888 or visit us at McCannDogs.com. Happy training!